Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the video series on the 6 functions of teaming for the change and implementation process. This series is produced by the Capacity Building Center for States and funded by the Children's Bureau. In this module, we're going to break down the 5th task in teaming for the change and implementation process, to guide the change process. Remember, at this point, a team has already identified the team purpose, the team members, and the teaming structure, as well as develop the team charter, communication plan, and external communication strategy. In this video, we will talk about how teams work together to guide the implementation process before the team moves on to debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps. Let's get started. It is important for teams to work together to guide the implementation process and to communicate their work in order to ensure the success of any change initiative. The success of the team's work depends significantly on how actively the team leader and the organizational culture more generally encourage an open and constructive collaboration. It is also important to encourage teams and subteams that are part of the process to be actively and consistently involved in the work of implementing a change, rather than serving simply as advisory groups. Although the team needs and structures may vary, teams support the success of the change initiative through collaboration and partnership on the resources, strategies, tasks, data, and decisions during the process. The first step in guiding implementation is often the creation of a detailed, comprehensive, and multifaceted work plan based on the team charter. The work plan should answer a few key questions to organize the work that will need to be completed, including: what does the team need to do to get to the change being sought, and what essential functions need to be performed? Who will be performing the tasks or the functions? What resources are necessary to perform each essential function and achieve the identified deliverables or outcomes? When are the deliverables or outcomes expected? The key functions of teams throughout the implementation process may include improving team readiness and the necessary organizational capacities to successfully plan, implement, and sustain an intervention, understanding the problems or challenges the agency faces and how to use data to dig deeper into the root causes, developing a theory of change to determine the most effective ways to get from the root causes of the problem to the desired outcomes, researching, selecting, and adapting or designing interventions that meet an agency's needs, planning and laying a foundation for successful and sustainable implementation and evaluation, piloting or staging the intervention so the agency can learn and adjust as needed before implementing on a larger scale, and collecting and using data to monitor progress, inform improvements, evaluate outcomes, and expand or modify programs. Strategies that can help agencies and teams work together to guide the implementation process include addressing barriers to change up front and working to anticipate them, addressing the climate and culture to support change, and ensuring resources, including time, are available for the work. Being open to adaptation of the teams and teaming structure. As the work of the team evolves, it may be necessary to split up the tasks and assign them to additional subteams as determined by the core steering team. And consider the following. Does the work plan adequately define the change the team is seeking and how they will achieve it? Is the appropriate leadership team involved to make important decisions on the work needed? Is there a method in place for reviewing the right data to inform key decisions? Using these strategies and answering key questions will help the team work together to guide the implementation process successfully. Let's check in on our example. Diamond County's 3 core teams, the executive leadership team, the project management team, and the stakeholder advisory team, continue to explore and refine the team structure as implementation moves forward. Knowing that it is critical that teams remain aligned, the project management team recognized the need to integrate the intervention into the larger community, as well as the overall agency. To facilitate this, they began to meet regularly with the stakeholder advisory team and asked that team to revise their function to inform the project management team and the executive management team about areas where the intervention is working well and areas that are not working well. Ensuring these connections helps the executive leadership team maintain a positive culture for change and ensure that adjustments are made to sustain the program over time. It sounds like the agency is working together and making adjustments that will help guide the change and implementation process. What do you think might be their next step? The next step in teaming is to debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps. Let's take a moment to check in on what you've learned about teams working together to guide the change process. Why do teams work together to guide the change process? To ensure the success of the change initiative through team culture and climate, active participation of all teams in the process, and collaboration in building resources, defining strategies and actions, reviewing data, and making decisions. How do teams work together to guide the change process? By creating a detailed, comprehensive, and multifaceted work plan based on the team charter that organizes the work necessary through each step of the change and implementation process. What helps teams work together to guide the change process? Addressing barriers, climate and culture, and the resources needed, being adaptable as the work evolves, and considering all the elements of the work that need to be done and who will do it. Now, take this a step further by reviewing the reflection questions for working together to guide the implementation process in your teaming workbook. Next up is debrief, evaluate, and identify next steps, the sixth and final function in teaming for change and implementation.